On this episode, Turned On for Transmutation. This is the Holistic Alpha Male Optimization Podcast, where we help you unleash your true power as a man. Hey guys, welcome back to the show. I'm Stephen Mathis. Thank you for being a part of this tribe. Let's talk about our sexual energy, our sexual being, and what is really the big picture. It is the foundational and fundamental life force that we use and must use to create the life that we desire. We know that our sexuality is linked with pleasure and with love and with connecting with someone in a relationship and with hopefully connecting with ourselves in a deep way. And it is also more than that. It's really everything. It touches and affects every aspect and layer of life, and it will be the foundational source if you are going to come close to creating the entirety of the life that you really desire and really approaching your true potential, because it is the most powerful force that you have access to. Now, this is something that we've talked about before, and we know in general ways and indirect ways how much this affects us. And I know that a lot of you guys have experienced that to some degree. And you've experienced how it does affect the entirety of your life and how you conduct yourselves and the opportunities that come to you and all of these aspects of life. Let's talk about a very specific way that is very important to bring these two things together. These two things meaning your sexual energy and your visions, your dreams, your targets, the things you want to build and create. And maybe it's financial goals, it's business or career goals, it's a relationship, attracting a new relationship, it's healing in certain ways or making changes in your body, whatever aspect of life it is. We need to bring those two together in a very specific and intentional way, in addition to the indirect way, because as you work on your sexuality and you build that up and you heal that and you empower that life force, and it starts to light you up and turn on the general dial of your life. Let's think about that phrase, turned on. When you're turned on by something or someone, yes, there's often a particular sexual connotation, but there often is not. Think about maybe a time that you've been in the new stages of a relationship, or maybe in any stage of a relationship, if it's been a beautiful relationship that's lasted for a long time, and you really feel so turned on as you go about all of your life because of these feelings and the things that are being generated from that relationship. Being turned on as a human being, as an energetic being, does not just mean being sexually attracted to a particular, person or thinking about sexual activity. It means literally and fundamentally turning up the dial of your life force energy. So as you work on your sexuality and you heal it and you empower it and you include regular and consistent practices that connect you with that in a deep way, you will absolutely experience big benefits where that sexual energy bleeds through and lifts you up. But we can also go a step further and be very direct and intentional about it, because you can, in fact, train yourself to literally be turned on by your dreams and your visions and your targets. And not only can you do that, I suggest that you do that if you would like to really tap into your greatest power, because there is incredible power in that. Now, let's talk about a couple of aspects of this. First of all, I'm not talking about eliminating the things that turn you on now, right? So the flesh and the aspects of a partner and the engagement and the relationship and these other things that turn you on. It's not about eliminating that. What it is about is adding additional things that we can be turned on by. Now, you might be thinking, well, I'm turned on by what I'm turned on by. It just is what it is. But that's not true, because it can change. What are you attracted to or turned on by now versus 5 years ago or 10 years ago or 20 years ago? Has that changed? Probably it has, as you've gone through if you've gone through multiple relationships. Has the type of partner that you're attracted to and turned on by changed even in some ways? Not the entirety of it, but in some ways it probably has. And what that tells us is that yes, indeed, what you are aroused by, what you are turned on by can change. Now, most people will never do this intentionally. They will never intentionally program what they are turned on by, but you can. And if you do, it's like a superpower, I'm telling you. Here's the fundamental way to really start doing this, and that is to start blending the two. Meaning, when you are engaged in your edging practice, at some points throughout that practice, you start to bring in your goals, your visions, whatever it is that you're working on, your definite chief aim in life, as Napoleon Hill would describe it. You start to bring that in. So it doesn't mean that at the beginning of your edging practice, you need to practice getting that initial erection or whatever strictly based on, your financial goal, if that's what it is, or in that particular case. What it does mean is that as you get in those higher energetic states, now you start to bring it in. And you bring it in a little bit and you blend it a little bit. And it may be that as you get to that high energy, high arousal, very turned on state, and you bring in those sort of non-sexual things, those other life goal things, it may be that you're gradually your turned onness, your level of arousal maybe gradually goes down a little bit. And then you release that and you come back to the breath, or you come back to a sexual sort of focus specifically, and you go back and forth and you continually bring that in and you mix it together. It is literally like an energetic mixing bowl. So you can, as you're engaged in edging, as you're engaged in having sex with your partner, you can start to bring other things into that mix and mix them together. And as you do that, if you do it consistently, what you will find is you will find that you start to get turned on. Your life force energy gets turned up at the thought of your dreams and visions and targets. And not only is that something that will help you, it is something that is required, because the only way that we can really transform and make major changes is if we can connect with an energy and an excitement and a turned onness for our future that is greater than how much we're connected with our past. And most of us are very, very connected with our past. We are very connected with our past selves, with our present selves. And if we are going to transform, we've got to get turned on at a fundamental level by the future. The more that we can get turned on by the future, the more that positive, empowered energy and life force is going to overcome the stuckness and the existing momentum of our past, of our present selves. It's ingrained. It has a certain momentum of its own. And if we're going to fundamentally change that in big ways, we need to get big energy. We need to get big energy to overcome that. The reason that most people look around the world, most people don't make major transformations. Most people don't really create the life that they desire. And that's because our past, our small selves, our boxed in selves, it has a lot of momentum. It has a lot of weight. And we need to get to a strong, energetic place if we're going to overcome that. And the reality is most people don't ever get to that kind of place in general. And an even smaller number of people get to that place and particularly and specifically apply it to the ways that they want to transform and change their lives. If you do that, it will make all the difference in the world. So start working with this. Don't have big expectations. In fact, you don't need to have any expectations at all about any kind of time frame of when you're going to get sort of turned on in a certain way and to a certain level by these kind of ideas. Zero expectations at all. Just start bringing them together. When you're at a high arousal, very turned on state, bring in your goals and visions. And then at other times, work on the skill and practice it of starting with your dreams and visions and working up the turned onness. And I know that's not a word. I don't care, because you understand what I mean. We can start both directions. We can start with getting turned on, and then we can bring in our specific visions, and we can start with our specific visions and get turned on by them. And that is a muscle. It is a skill. And you may have little or no experience with that, but I promise you it is true. You can build a muscle where you can sit in a meditative kind of place, or maybe you go for a walk and it's kind of a walking meditation. You can start with your ideas and visions, and you can work up a charge and a magnetism towards that. But it takes effort. It absolutely takes effort. It doesn't just happen. It's an energetic process. That's the last thing that I want to leave you with, and that is this. We must really ramp up and understand that change and transformation, it takes energy. It takes momentum. We've got to build up power because, again, all that current stuff, all the past stuff, it has weight. It's like this weight sitting there. And change happens when we can get enough energy built up that we can start to pull that weight. It never happens if we don't build up enough energy. So one of the reasons that we work on our sexuality and healing and empowering our sexual selves is so that we have more life force in general to work with. And then I promise you, if you start to work with this in specific ways where you start to connect when you feel turned on with when you are thinking about and feeling into your future and your visions and your targets, and you start to mix those two in that mixing bowl of energy in your life, it's literal magic. What it really is it's alchemizing. That's what you're doing in this process. You are bringing together two different things to create a new thing that didn't exist before. You're alchemizing your life force energy and your thought, your conscious awareness. You're blending the idea and the energetic charge and alchemizing a beautiful future. I know that is what you're doing. Keep stepping, keep incorporating this, or start incorporating this in a very specific way. Again, without expectations, there's no rush, but start to bring it into your world and start to practice it. If you're already practicing it, ramp it up. There is more power here than you can possibly comprehend. There is more power here than I could comprehend, because the deeper I go, the more expansive it gets. I have a feeling you will have the same experience. I'm so thankful for you being here. I'm so supportive of you going and kicking ass. Go get some. We'll talk to you soon.